Hi, thank you so much, and thank you so much for your question. I do want to say before I continue that I know stuff like this is controversial to talk about in our society right now. Honestly, not for any evidence based reason. However, I do think that despite any backlash, the good that talking about it brings into the world is worth me doing these videos. So let's go. So, for those who don't know, my name's MJ. I'm a trans man. I started my medical transition about 10 years ago. Before that, I had a biological son. He is awesome. He is hilarious, gets awesome grades at school. He's amazing at coding. He's really excelling, and I'm so proud of him. And I will go into detail about my brief detransition in case anyone is new. But I do want to say, like, obviously, it would be naive to state that, like, my transition and detransition did not impact my son at all or affect him at all. That would be silly because, I mean, of course it did. I'm his parent. But it didn't affect him in the way or to the degree that I thought. Before I started my transition, the reason it took so long to like actually take that initial step of like, coming out and like medically transitioning is because I was so scared of how it would reflect on my son, on my parenting, and how my son would take it over time. I was constantly told about how he would resent me in the future, about how, it was so sick and I was being selfish. So I was expecting it to be extremely influential on his life in a negative way. I started doing a lot of research on the topic when it comes to like parents transitioning, and I found that like overwhelming results show that when a parent who is trans moves forward with their transition, their relationship with their child actually grows stronger and healthier. Throughout that research, I only found one instance where somebody spoke out about how devastated they were about their father's transition. They were the only person who said that like it dramatically, horrifically changed their life. And then I saw that it was like linked to some like religious book they were selling or something. So it was really for self gain. So I went with science and I pursued my transition. Now, after about 3 years on testosterone, I started having liver issues. It got to the point where I was at the beginning of liver failure. Like that's how high my enzymes were. And so I made the decision to go off testosterone, because it wasn't just about me. I'm a parent, and at the time I was a single parent. My son, he's autistic. He relies on me a lot, and there's a good chance that he'll rely on me for the rest of my life. Maybe not, but maybe so. And because of that, it's important that I extend my life as much as possible so that I can be there for him as much as possible. So I made the decision to go off testosterone, which was extremely hard. I understand from the outside looking in, like people might be like, why would going off a hormone be a big deal, but for me, it was like literally grasping freedom, finally getting freedom, and then losing it. You know what I mean? There's a quote by Lana Del Rey. It's like, I knew that it takes getting everything you've ever wanted and then losing it to know what true freedom is. And I feel like to a degree, I experienced that with my transition. I had top surgery, I got hormones, and then, I had to stop so abruptly. During this time, I made the decision to try to detransition and present feminine. I do think it was rather a rash decision. If I could go back, would I have still done that? I don't think so, but I absolutely understand why I did it. So at this point in my transition, when I had to go off testosterone, this is what I looked like. I knew that when I went off testosterone, like there was a chance that certain things would revert. Not everything reverts, but some stuff can. And I knew what it was like, before my transition to live as a masculine lesbian in my area or a trans person that's non-passing. And it wasn't always fun, and sometimes it was scary. So honestly, my thinking was, I'm going to be dealing with a lot of dysphoria. I already know that. It's going to happen, of course. But if I present as feminine, at least I can go in society every day and not be hassled. Now, I'm not indicating that, women don't get hassled. I will say I've lived as a woman for a long time, a masculine lesbian for a long time, and a trans man for a long time. And as a masculine lesbian and a non-passing trans man, I got hassled a lot more. And I was right. I got left alone that whole time. I didn't have to worry about am I passing? Are my changes reverting? You know what I mean? And I had already had like a mental health team and everything. So I figured when I did deal with the gender dysphoria, that was something I could focus on in therapy. At the time, I was just trying to choose like what would be the least stressful during this time because it was already an incredibly stressful time. Honestly, I'm so glad I'm a parent because like I don't like when people like say like, oh, my kid saved me, stuff like that, because I don't know, I feel like that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid. But honestly, it's good I had my child at that time because I don't know what I would have done. I think that if I didn't have my child during that time, I would have just completely isolated myself and not gone out into society if I could help it. But because I'm a parent, I have to go into society. I have to face the world, even if it's scary, even if people are going to think I'm weird and that like I change too much, whatever. Like I had to get up and face society. So I really do think that having my son at that time really like forced me to just face the world at a time where I really didn't want to. So when it comes to my detransition, and how my son reacted to it, honestly, like I feel like it's anticlimactic because I think when I talk about like my transition and detransition, people expect me to be like, oh my god, like it was so traumatic for him and blah. Like he really didn't care. I know he prefers me as I am because this is how he knows me, and I also know this because when I did detransition for that short period, it only lasted a month and a half. But I wore like big fake lashes, and he would always rip them out. He didn't like them, so he would rip them out. Like, and I'd be in the pool, right? I'd look over, my falsies would be just like floating through the water, so I knew he ripped them out. So he didn't like that. He also didn't like that I wore weave. He tried to rip that like straight out of my head. He prefers me this way. I mean, it wasn't some like horribly awful time for him or whatever. It's just that like he this is how he knows me. I know for some it's different because when someone thinks of a mother, they don't think of like for one they don't think of a dude. But for two, even if people just view me as a masculine woman, like that's not how people picture mothers. But this is his normal. And I know there's people out there that are like, "Oh, that's so sad." I gotta disagree. My son is safe. He has his basic needs met. He lives in a healthy home. We are compassionate. That's really all kids need to thrive. And looks don't provide that. It doesn't matter if I got a weave in or if I look like Uncle Fester. I'm still a good parent. I'm a good parent. And so is my husband. Like I said, I'm not trying to imply like, transitioning and then detransitioning and retransitioning didn't affect my son at all. Of course, he had questions. Like he was curious. I know a lot of people wonder like, does your son get made fun of like because you're trans or whatever? I get that a lot. One time I asked him, so I'm like, do you get made fun of because I'm trans? And he was like, yeah, sometimes. And I was like, I'm sorry, do you want me to like be quiet about it, stop posting online and stuff? And he was like, no, I think you should make a Discord. My son doesn't care much what people think, and I do believe that's because of how I raised him. And I don't like to give myself all the credit for how my son turned out as a person because I know he's an individual and he's just awesome on his own. But I do believe that I have raised him to take pride in being different and really not give a shit what people say. So like I said, I'm sure my transition and my detransition and retransition affected him. But the effects of those things, when weighed next to how detrimental it would have been if I just let my mental health go to shit to try to conform to everybody else, I mean, it's much better having a healthy and stable parent, no matter how they look. Thank you for your question.